Tim, we're coming to the end of a year that many would say has been a bad one for the ruling group on Baines. You've had demos, protest marches, sit-downs in Milson Street, the sitting Tory MP losing his seat. Would you say it's been a bad year?
No, no year is a bad year. Every year is a good year, just some are more challenging than others. And indeed, we've had challenges with things like libraries this year. I believe we've gone through it and we've come out the right side and made the right decisions.
The first and biggest challenge, I suppose, this year was East of Bath Park and Ride. Bath seemed to have found its voice over that particular issue.
Yeah, the issue was with, Site B was always the favourite site, but unfortunately we couldn't gain access to it. Just found out that we wouldn't have gone through planning, to be honest with you. With the Highways England, there wasn't a big enough splay, which is a shame. Site F was touch and go. Site F wasn't popular, and we decided not to go with it. And we have a few other ideas coming up, which hopefully you'll hear of soon.
Well, I was going to say Hampton Meadows may have been saved in many people's eyes, but the East of Bath Park and Ride hasn't gone away, has it?
No, it hasn't. I think we need it. Things changed with the West of England Combined Authority being formed for the better. I know at the time it was a little bit controversial, and I put my neck on the block a little bit, to be honest with you, to say the least, but was always behind it. Government said any capital funding would go through that. The difference it made, we always were looking at two sites, maybe one to take the A46 traffic, another to take the A4 Box Road traffic. We couldn't find anything on the A46. We tried to look at Lansdowne, but the problem with Lansdowne, access is great, but when you leave Lansdowne, when you want to go home in the evening, to go on the motorway, you come to the end of Freezing Hill Lane, and you can almost die of old age before you get to the end. It's that bad. But with the WECA, or West of England Combined Authority, the WECA as they call it now, which I don't like actually, if I'm honest with you, but we go with it for now.
No worse than Baines.
I know you're getting habits of saying these things, but I don't really like them. The problem was always a Bath problem, but the actual road was in South Gloucester. So we couldn't spend money in South Gloucester, and they weren't going to spend money on a Bath problem. But now with the West of England Mayor, we can look at this in a joined up way, so we can actually fix Freezing Hill Lane, and the money is there to do the feasibility now, and the money is there to do the capital project when it does actually happen. So all of a sudden you can put another 300 or 400 in Lansdowne, and you can get on and off the main road a lot easier. So that frees up, so now we can look at something along the A4 Box Road, and we don't need to make 1,000, 500, 600, 700 will be more than enough. So actually that makes a big difference.
You're a local authority that's always pleading poverty. Is Baines broke?
Again, it's challenging. Capital, there's two, it sounds a bit complicated, but there's really two accounts. So we have the capital account, which is a bit like equating to your mortgage, which is more investments for big capital projects, and the revenue, which is a day-to-day account, which is how far does your wages go at the end of the week. And we are struggling to get enough wages to pay the bills at the end of the week. As you probably know, between 75 and 80% of our money now goes on either adults or children's social care, which not many people are aware of that, and we're trying to bring that to the fore so people know, which leaves you 20% to pay for everything else, which includes roads, includes bins, includes everything. Now, when we talk about adult social care, people think of old people, but it's not. People are living longer now, which is a great thing, but not necessarily are living better. So you might get children who may have died of something years ago, and thank goodness with the onset and the improvements in medical care, they live longer. But an 18-year-old now will be classified as an adult. So when there's issues which before they may not have survived, they do now, which is very costly on the public purse, it's a good use of money. It just means there's less for everything else.
Couldn't those with money pay for their own care? Couldn't you have some form of means testing?
I'm sure some do pay for their own care, and again, I think it's down to individual people and families what they do. I was saying something the other day. My grandfather, for instance, had a stroke. We kept him at home. We all looked after him because we loved him, and that's what you do. And I think there's a certain amount of that still does go on. But as for means testing, that's above my pay grade. That's more for the government, to be honest with you.
What
so I slip
about
out of that one well enough.
what about just putting up council tax and making us pay for the deficiency, the deficit?
I mean, there is that. We can charge 2% now on adult social care as a precept. We do have the option of putting up to 3%, which we may or may not, that will be decided. Plus, there's a cap of 2% on council tax. To go any more than that, you have to have a referendum. A referendum, as we know when we had the mayoral election, it cost them 900,000. So that's 1% on council tax. So instantly, you've got to put that more than 3 to make it work. And people on the whole don't like paying tax.
People have been talking a lot about other ways of maybe making money to ease that deficit. We've heard about things like congestion charges, making people pay to park in Bath, maybe even a tourist tax, a bed tax on hotels.
There are a few changes we could make. They need legislation. At the moment, we couldn't charge a tourist tax. A pound a night a room would make something like over 2 million, I think, which would be great, be helpful. However, if you talk to the hotels, they're not keen, for obvious reasons, but like turkeys for Christmas. We formed our own housing company last year, which is going well now. There's space above shops which isn't being used or wasn't being used. We've now turned them into flats that we can rent out. There's certain places that we may develop and sell. We can then put that into housing, which again we can rent because there's no secret there's a housing shortage. We're now, and you heard this first, so if any newspapers are watching, we're thinking now of starting to build council houses again. You know, me becoming a registered social landlord, which I think we can do, and I think there's a place for us to be doing that, to be honest with you. And again, that would bring in a bit more income.
I never thought I'd hear a Tory councillor actually say that, but many people would think that's a very good idea. Tim, you say a tourist tax is not a good idea, but...
No, I didn't say that. I said the hotels wouldn't like it.
Well, you've mentioned WECA. Surely with Bristol, you could jointly investigate additional revenues like tourist taxes or congestion charges. Wouldn't that make it easier?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do, and I should be going to government soon to lobby about certain things. And we have issues, way beyond a tourist tax. But again, I think it needs to be something that's done nationally if it's done. I think Birmingham have just been granted the powers to do this, to raise money for the Commonwealth Games in 2022, I think the Commonwealth Games is. But, one of our big issues are universities and students, and it's no good shying away and thinking it's going to go away, because it's not. Originally, we had an allowance for universities, because as people know, they don't pay any council tax. We're having purpose-built student accommodation in Bath, which don't pay any business rates. And there's almost a double whammy, because we have some businesses which are then turned into it. So you lose the business rates from them and get nothing back. I don't think it's right to charge students. You might think that's funny for Tory as well. But they have to pay their fees, they have to live in town, and it's difficult for them. So I don't think we should charge them. However, the most lucrative thing you can build is a student accommodation now, so there should be something from them. There's no rates on universities, because universities are charities. There were 20%, I think, on universities because they're charities. And it goes on and on. Yet a quarter of Bath now, or I think it's 27% even, are students, of which we get nothing for. They do put a lot into the city. I mean, Bath University, I think, are the second biggest employers in the city. So there's a lot of jobs, and they bring a lot of economic generation. They bring a lot of economic growth to the city, and they do help. However, for a council, they don't. So we have to empty their bins, we have to clean up behind everybody. So we need to sort something into the future. Again, I think that's nationwide for that. So we're in talks with universities now about what we can and can't do.
I bet you wish you were on a Vice-Chancellor's wage.
I'm not going to mention that, but I'd be quite happy on half of a Vice-Chancellor's wage.
Tim,
you mentioned... a quarter do me.
You mentioned starting to build council houses again. That is the big issue. Today, Baines is quite rightly promoting its record number of houses that it's built in the past year, but people then turn around and say, how many of those are affordable? I mean, if we're talking about starting to build council houses, are we talking, therefore, about more affordable homes?
Yes, I mean, there's affordable and affordable. It just depends how much money you have. But there's a big need for social rents. So the essentially rents are what they call the old council house. You pay your rent, and you live there, because some people, they may have aspirations to buy a house, but it's difficult. Now, I've got two boys myself, they're trying to buy houses, and actually to get a deposit, it's tough, and then to pay your mortgages on top of that. So we need more. We've had, like you say, record amounts of houses, and but is there enough affordable? Is there ever? I don't know. It is difficult. We live in a beautiful place, Bath, North East Somerset. I wouldn't want to move anywhere in the world, if I'm honest with you. A lot of people feel the same. A lot of people want to move in here, which makes it expensive. If expensive, the land's more expensive for starts. We wanted to build brownfield sites first. Some of them may be contaminated, so the land's more expensive to deliver. Then the developers come back and say, well, we can't deliver this amount of affordable housing because it costs too much, and they prove they can't. So what do? You say, well, no, you can't do it, or you alternatively, you have some sort of a deal, which is why this is, again, where this is West of England Combined Authority comes in. We're trying to negotiate our housing deal, and if we can do that, there will be money then which can be used to bolster the affordability. If you've got a site to which you want 30%, developers can only do, say, 15%, and they have to give good reasons for that, then we may be able to bolster that, so they can get 30, 35, even 40%, because houses are expensive. And end of.
Another suggestion that came in my website from a contributor just recently was Bath declaring independence, Bath becoming a city council in its own right again, and the North East Somerset bit being merged with North Somerset. Do you think something like that would be helpful?
No. No, I mean, Bath, there's been a few people saying, oh, City of Bath for a while, but I don't think it's big enough. I think it's economies of scale, really. I don't personally think that Bath and North East Somerset is really big enough. I think it could be bigger. Ideally, for a unitary authority, you probably have another 100,000 in, which is where, I don't think I want a recreation of Avon, because I don't. It's where the combined authority comes in to its own, I think. You've got to look at things regionally. Transport, I've been talking about Bath Transport this morning, and it's a hot topic everywhere. But we have to look at it. For instance, I live in North East Somerset. We've just done a junction called the Two-Headed Man, which is absolutely fantastic. But we've got another junction, which used to be called Bence's Garage. You get there quicker to stop, so you need to do Bence's. So you have to look at everything regionally. So if you look at it too much on its own, it just doesn't work.
So whether we like it or not, it's going to end up as Bristol and Bath?
No. Bath and North East Somerset won't be Bristol, I can assure you. We work closely with everybody now. We're working in partnership with North Somerset. We're looking to work a lot closer with South Gloucester. And when I took over in 2015, it was a good time. We'd never had great relationships with Wiltshire or Bristol. I mean, Bristol, I say, we were not as good as not great, to be honest with you. I get on very well now with Jane Scott, the Baroness, I'm not sure what he's the Baroness of, in Wiltshire. I have a good working relationship. Bristol now, I'd actually say I'm good friends with Marvin Rees, although we're different parties, and Bristol and Bath. There was a wall between, but you have to embrace your differences, and there are differences. I never, ever, ever want to go into Greater Bristol. I state that. We're Bath and North East Somerset, not Bristol. My postcode is the Bristol postcode, which I'm always a little bit, should be a Bath one. But that's another point. And again, that's so above my pay grade, I can't change it. But there's no reason that you still can't work together with them, which you are. You have to. We're working closely with all our neighbours now. As
the year comes to an end, do you have any regrets politically?
You live and you learn. I mean, it's something you take on. Somebody said to me, you're just a bloke in the street, and all of a sudden you're running a council with 2,000 staff and a £300 million turnover.
And 300 of them going to lose their jobs in the next...
Absolutely. There's going to be redundancy, which is, you talk about numbers and they're not, they're real people. And it's difficult. Some people, I'm sure, look at redundancies and they'll be happy with it, others won't. And there's people that we worked with for a long time, and that you get very close, you work close relationships, and it will be a difficult time. I'd like to think by 2020 we can be self-sufficient. That's my idea in Bath, and working closely towards that. So I say regrets, no. Have I learned a lot? Yes. Do I keep learning? Yes. It's a difficult time to be in power, because we are having to make huge savings. However, it's an exciting time because there's opportunity. We're doing the Bath Quays now. We've got Bath Quays South, Bath Quays North. I don't know if you've been down there recently, but the Riverside is fantastic down there now. That's the flood alleviation. We've got the bridge going across soon, and it's really exciting what's going to go in there. So although it's a difficult time, it's a great time.
Do you have a New Year's resolution or two?
Do you know, I haven't even had time to think of this year, let alone that year.
What are you most looking forward to in 2018?
Just getting on with that. I mean, since I was elected, we've had so many referendums and elections that now I'd love just a year to concentrate on doing the job without a general election. We don't want any more of those. We had the West of England election, we've had some local elections, we had the mayoral referendum, and it goes on and on and on.
Change of MP.
Absolutely. Let's just have a clear, so I just ignore that one. Let's just have a clear year where we can get on and do what we need to do and just get to work, really.